Today, we're going to dive into one of the world's oldest, most continuous, and frankly, most profound philosophical traditions Indian philosophy. It's a journey that stretches back for millennia, and it asks some of the biggest questions you can possibly ask about what it means to be alive. I mean, just think about it for a second. Every single culture across all of history has grappled with these questions. Who am I? What's really going on here? What's the right thing to do? They're at the very core of the human experience. And yet, the answers we come up with are just so incredibly different, creating this beautiful, complex tapestry of human thought. And that puzzle is exactly where our story begins. And right away, this is where Indian philosophy takes a really unique turn. You know, a lot of traditions seek knowledge just for the sake of knowing. But here, philosophy is never just some abstract intellectual game. The goal is intensely practical. It's about finding a truth that doesn't just sit in your head, but actually transforms your entire life. A truth that sets you free. And that freedom has a name, moksha. This is the big one. And it's not just about getting away from the bad stuff, the suffering and the turmoil. It's a positive goal, the achievement of ultimate freedom, a state of infinite bliss. This idea of liberation, this is the North Star that guides almost every school of thought we're about to look at. It's the whole point of the journey. So how did this tradition actually develop over thousands and thousands of years? Well, we can break it down into 4 major periods, and each one has its own totally distinct vibe and contribution. So let's walk through this incredible history. The whole story really unfolds across these 4 distinct ages. We kick things off way back in the ancient Vedic period, then we move into the powerful storytelling of the epic period, then we see things get really systematic in the Sutra period, and finally, we get this explosion of debate and commentary in the Scholastic period. All right, so our story begins with the Vedas, which are some of the earliest texts in human history. And this whole era is defined by this fascinating pivot in thinking, a shift from focusing on the external world of rituals and gods to the internal world of the self. So you see this really profound shift happening. The early parts of the Vedas, what's called the Karma Kanda, they're all about hymns and elaborate rituals designed to keep the cosmos in balance. But then you get to the later parts, the Upanishads, or the Jnana Kanda, and everything turns inward. The thinkers of this time started asking, hey, wait a minute, what's the one reality behind all these rituals and gods? And their answer was absolutely revolutionary: spiritual monism. The idea that beneath all the crazy diversity of the universe, there is one single ultimate reality. So from these deep, quiet meditations, philosophy kind of comes out of the forest and right into the middle of human drama in the epic period. This is where all those abstract ideas get put to the test in the real, messy world of life. And the perfect example of this is the warrior Arjuna from the epic Mahabharata. He's on a battlefield, and he's facing this impossible choice. His duty as a soldier tells him he has to fight, but he's fighting his own cousins, his own teachers. And his struggle, it's just like our own modern conflicts, isn't it? That tension between what your job requires, what your personal ethics say, and what society expects of you. This period shows us that philosophy isn't just a theory, it's a guide for getting through life's hardest moments. Okay, so after the epic stories, the philosophical landscape starts to get a lot more structured. Thinkers begin taking this vast ocean of ideas and organizing it all into clear, systematic schools of thought. This is the era of definitions, of logic, and of some seriously intense debate. So the Sutra period brings the structure. The core ideas get condensed into these super brief, powerful statements called sutras. This leads to the 6 major orthodox schools, each one specializing in something different, from the hardcore logic of Nyaya to the atomic theory of Vaisheshika. Then, this is followed by the Scholastic period, where these brilliant thinkers wrote massive commentaries, just unpacking these dense little sutras. But here's the really cool part. These weren't just simple explanations. They were fierce debates, they were critiques, they were brand new philosophical ideas being built, all disguised as commentary. It was an unbelievably dynamic intellectual scene. So, looking back across all these different periods, is there anything that ties it all together? You bet there is. Let's try and distill the core characteristics that really give Indian philosophy its unique spirit. At its heart, Indian philosophy is this amazing blend. It's intensely practical, always focused on that inward journey to understand the self, or Atman. There's this constant search for that one ultimate reality called Brahman. And it has this incredible way of balancing respect for tradition, the Shruti, or what the ancient sages heard, with a rigorous use of logic, or yukti. And it's that very balance that leads to this remarkable tolerance. This idea that, hey, maybe there's more than one path up the mountain. And really, the whole thing is built on this foundation of karma and rebirth. You can think of it as the universe's moral operating system. It's the idea that every action has a consequence. What you sow, you reap. And since nobody really achieves spiritual perfection in just one go, the soul is reborn. This gives you another chance and another to keep making progress on that long path toward the ultimate goal of moksha. This line from the ancient Rig Veda just perfectly captures that spirit of pluralism we were talking about. It's this foundational idea that has allowed so many different schools of thought to grow and argue and thrive, all within one unified spiritual quest. It suggests that maybe all those debates aren't about who's right and who's wrong, but about different people finding different words to describe the same incredible, indescribable truth. Okay, so this all might seem really ancient and far away, but its relevance today is, well, it's kind of startling. Let's connect these powerful ideas directly to the stuff we're all dealing with in our lives right now. So, Indian philosophy says that the root cause of our suffering is something called avidya. Basically, a spiritual ignorance, a fundamental confusion about who we really are. Now think about its modern forms. Chronic stress, feeling totally lost or without purpose. The endless chase for the next thing, the next purchase. Aren't these just modern symptoms of that same ancient diagnosis? A deep, deep disconnection from our true selves. And so what this tradition offers us today isn't a bunch of dusty old ideas. It's a set of practical tools. It gives us methods like meditation for getting to know ourselves, a really rich tradition of logic for thinking critically, and a framework built on pluralism that, frankly, we desperately need for global understanding. Ultimately, it offers a pathway to deal with that root suffering by rediscovering who we really are. And that brings us to the end of our explainer, but it's really just the start of a much deeper question. I want to leave you with a few things to think about. In our world of constant pings, deadlines, and digital noise, is a goal as huge as liberation even possible anymore? Or, and this is the real question, is it maybe more necessary now than it has ever been? And this might be the key takeaway. After everything we've looked at, from those ancient sages to the intense debaters, is the point just to learn a bunch of new ideas, or is it to fundamentally change the person who's having the ideas? In the end, this tradition teaches us that philosophy isn't about escaping from the world. It's about participating in it more deeply, more truthfully. It's an invitation. So the final question really isn't about ancient philosophy. It's about you. What kind of seeker are you going to be?